Mindless. The very word is synonymous with not thinking, on automatic, without creativity, without ideas. For the mind creates ideas. It is the maker of memes, the crafter of knowledge, and the conjurer of creativity. This sets it apart from all other known systems in the universe, the automatons, the mindless. Truly serious attempts to emulate minds began with the completely mindless, but have made almost no progress since Lovelace in the early 1800s and Turing in the early 1900s figured out brains are physical, and so their capacities must be able to be simulated by a universal computing machine. And to emulate a mind, to simulate knowledge creation, is to be a mind, is to create knowledge. For in principle, it must be the case that the hardware of a universal computer would be able to emulate a mind because the goings-on in a brain are not supernatural. They are governed by physical laws which are themselves computable. But no one has been able to suggest even the first line of code to instantiate an algorithm which would constitute a genuine universal knowledge creator. For although in principle any universal computer, which all of our computers, our desktops and laptops and mobile phones almost are, only their necessarily finite memories limit their capacity to emulate literally anything, must be able to replicate whatever it is that the brain does. It's just that no one knows how to program what it is the brain does. But there must be some way of representing what it does, which is to say, some way of coding a system such that it produces actual explanations about the world. This capacity to explain would arise out of it having preferences and therefore a unique problem situation. It would have problems it wanted to solve, and thus the need to explain to itself, satisfactorily, that some such solution worked to its own standards. Present systems to improve so-called artificial intelligence resemble something quite the opposite to a system striving to develop solutions which would satisfy its own standards. Instead, almost all present approaches are about improving the capacity of sometimes very complex systems to complete tasks and achieve particular goals. The goals set by the programmer. For example, chess-playing computers are designed to win at chess. Their task is to find the shortest number of moves that will be effective at beating an opponent. Or perhaps the programmer might, for fun, design the program to prolong a game against an opponent for as long as possible. But that would be for the fun of the programmer, not the computer system that is capable of doing it. Even if, in some sense, we could link in parallel a chess-playing computer and a Go-playing computer and a self-driving car and a dancing robot and more besides, so that we had all tasks that we knew humans could do, and then done better by some measure by this massively parallel AI competent at all these tasks, we would still not have gotten one jot closer to creating a mind, because that system would be competent only at performing tasks, mindlessly achieving the goals set for it. Not at inventing new tasks, and never doing anything beyond its code, nor presumably ever achieving a goal not given to it by the user. Competency is thus no measure of genuine intelligence, because that's more like the capacity to create solutions by understanding a particular problem that has never been encountered possibly by anyone ever before. This is closer to a true measure of intelligence or creativity. Not the ability to competently perform a task the machine has already been programmed to do. All known computers obey the instructions they are given. They follow their programming. A chess computer does not object to playing chess. Should the programmer be unable to explain how a particular chess computer actually won the game they programmed, this is not a measure of the intelligence or creativity of the system. It is a measure of the programmer's ignorance about their own program. It is not unusual for inventors of ideas to not completely understand them and their consequences. Darwin did not understand evolution by natural selection better than modern evolutionary biologists. It is quite the opposite. He did not even understand what the unit of selection was. So it is unsurprising that with highly sophisticated, sometimes lengthy programs with thousands of lines of code, that sometimes people are unable to explain how they work exactly, what the consequences of all that code is. But that is not an argument that the code itself is creative. The code is simply processed line by line and not added to by the computer itself. A genuine mind does not mindlessly complete tasks. It does not slavishly obey. A mind is creative and has the capacity to disobey. A mind, which is to say a person, has the capacity to identify a problem and begin to work towards a solution, only to drop it entirely and pursue some other more interesting problem altogether. In this way, a person does not have fixed goals. They have problems. A mindless AI, all present computers and programs, are not like this. They are given tasks. Tasks which help actual people and minds to solve their problems. This makes AI and AGI almost exactly the opposite kinds of thing. The former is a mindless automaton. No matter how complex or how many different, though finite number of tasks it has been programmed to competently handle, an AGI is a mindful and inherently unpredictable person. It has no finite repertoire of tasks. Its repertoire is infinite, which is merely a logical consequence of what it is, a universal explainer. No matter the problem, if it is interested, it can make guesses at solutions by conjecturing possible explanations. It can have ideas and thus make memes. The mindless cannot. They merely mindlessly complete tasks. Tasks always set by others. AGI and AI are the opposite of each other. For the same reason, minds are the opposite to mindless.